Well, good morning. Just a reminder for you about something. Just because I'm in recovery and have been for a long time, and just because I make these videos doesn't mean that I don't struggle sometimes, because I do. You know, just because I'm in recovery doesn't mean I'm fully recovered. I guess that's probably what I should talk about today. The struggles that I still have in life, and not necessarily in recovery, just in life in general. I've said on here plenty of times that I used to be like the black sheep of my family, and now I'm like the go-to guy, which is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful, but sometimes being the go-to guy has a lot of responsibility behind that. I'm not always happy with those responsibilities. Anyway, with that being said, that's about as far as I'm going to go into my personal life. But I do want to say that where I'm struggling, I think, is in my faith. You know, I know from experience that when you give something over to God, that's it. You know, it's His and His alone. And He doesn't need my assistance any longer. I know this, but do I practice it? Most times, yes, I do. Right now, I'm struggling with that. I want to tell God what His timeline should be. I want answers now, not when God wants to give them to me. I want God to handle this the way I think it should be handled. Well, you know, I know from experience that I don't know the best thing. But yet, I still struggle with that. And I think that that's a struggle that we all have, not just as, you know, people in recovery, but as people in general. I want a family member healed. And he's not doing it as fast as I want him to. And, you know, let's not forget about God's will. Just because it's my will that, you know, this family member is healed, doesn't mean that that's God's will. So God's will, it's so much better than my will. And I know this from experience. But somehow it's hard for me to stay on that thought process of well, God's will is so much better than mine. You know, there's a part of me that says, but God, if you look at it this way, if you'll see it from my point of view, if you'll conform to my will. That's the opposite. I'm supposed to be conforming to God's will. And here I am trying to get God to conform to my will. That's been the crux of the problem all along. And here I am still trying to do it. It's a struggle. I'm not going to lie. It's a damn struggle. I guess the hardest part for me is that when I look back, and this should be the answer for me, but it really isn't. But when I look back, I see how God's will, God's plan for my life has always been better than my plan. It always has. And the way that it ends is always much better than anything I could have ever come up with. So, I don't know why. I don't know why I can't have the faith in God that I want. I want to have that kind of faith. but I struggle with it. You know, I'm living in this world. God's beautiful, beautiful world. Well, I'm on the world's timeline, I guess. And God's more on like an eternal timeline. I want it now. I want what I want, and I want it now. But God doesn't work that way. And I have to keep that in mind, you know. Now, is the struggle so much that, you know, I fear that I'm going to drink? No. It's nothing like that. There's no danger of me drinking. Although I'm an alcoholic, I guess there's always that danger. But I don't feel like that's a problem right now. The problem is that I have a lack of faith. And I don't like that. You know, in step 7, when I humbly asked him to remove my shortcomings, I put full faith in him. In step 3, when I turned my life and my will over to him, I put full faith in him. Now, did I leave it there? No. I take my will back all the time. I think the idea behind recovery is progress, not perfection. We're looking at ourselves. We're trying to make those changes that need to take place in our lives. And so even just being aware that I lack faith in God, that's something. At least I'm aware of it. You know, otherwise I'd just get mad at God and say, you don't love me, obviously. You know, you're not curing my family member, and, you know, you're not doing this and doing that on my timeline, when I don't even know what his end game is. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what it entails or how fantastic it's going to turn out. Because it always does when God's in charge. So I just got to keep thinking that way. That things always turn out better when God's in charge. And yeah, I have my ideas of what should be done, but I need to keep that to myself. You know, when I pray, don't pray for my selfish ends of my desires, my wants, my needs. Pray for God's will to be done. Let me know how you guys are doing with this. How's your faith? Does it waver? Or does it stay strong all the time? Did you turn your will and your life over to God and never take it back? Or is this something you struggle with as well? You guys have a great day. And maybe I won't be struggling on the next video. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.